The Boston Red Sox have swept a divisional opponent. I repeat, the Boston Red Sox have swept a divisional opponent. This is not a drill.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Hurlbut, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I am here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed for free. And who doesn't love free stuff? I promise you it is a very fun show, regardless of if the Red Sox win or lose. So tune in to Locked On Red Sox every day. Locked On is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Happy Friday and happy long weekend for some of you. I hope you get to enjoy some nice time off from work. Hopefully the weather cooperates up here in the Northeast. You really don't know what the weather is going to look like this time of year. It's so unpredictable. So hopefully we get some nice weather. We can spend some time outside in the sun and that you're ready to enjoy the Red Sox play a tough series against the Brewers. They'll certainly be tested at home against this team who's had a very good start to the season. So it should be a fun one this weekend. And the Red Sox are coming into the series with some momentum. They are riding a 4-game win streak, including a sweep over the Tampa Bay Rays. Now, I was nervous about this series because the Red Sox didn't look good overall in the series against the Cardinals prior to that. And then they were able to squeeze out the last game of that series, which started this win streak. But going into Tampa Bay, I was nervous because the Red Sox had gone in there losing a tough series against the Rays at home last week. They had lost 3 out of 4 games in that series. So I already was skeptical because of that. And also the Red Sox hadn't swept the Rays at the Trop since April 19th to 21st, 2019. You want to know the interesting thing about that series was the last time that they swept the Rays on their home turf, David Price actually started the game and Mitch Moreland homered. That was back in 2019. It was the last game of that series, the last game that marks a sweep of the Red Sox over the Rays at the Trop. So that feels like centuries ago. I mean, that Red Sox team feels like it was forever ago. And it's crazy to think about the fact that so much has changed with the Boston Red Sox since then. So that was the last time. And the Red Sox don't have a good history of playing well at Tropicana Field. So they went into this series with a vengeance for sure, and they ended up pulling off the sweep. They won game 1 in shutout fashion, 5-0. Tanner Houck was on the mound. He looked fantastic, went 7 innings, giving up 2 hits and no earned runs with 1 walk and 5 strikeouts. He's had a fantastic season, and I'm going to dive into that a little bit later on the show when I rank the starting pitchers as of right now. But then the Red Sox won game 2, 5-2. Criswell was on the hill in that one. 5.1 innings pitched, 6 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, and 6 strikeouts. He's definitely been a pleasant surprise for this Red Sox starting rotation, and I've really enjoyed being able to watch him pitch in Garrett Whitlock's absence. They definitely have had a good replacement, I'd say, for Whitlock in that time. Then the Red Sox come into game 3, and the bats are absolutely moving. The Red Sox win 8-5 behind Brayan Bello, who pitched 6 innings, gave up 4 hits and 3 earned runs. He did have 4 walks, however, though, and 6 strikeouts. So this was not one of Brayan Bello's best starts for sure. He did clean himself up after a bit. The first few innings, he was missing his spots a lot and could not get his pitches where he wanted them to be, and he kept missing them, and it was not great for us as fans to be able to see, because the Rays did grab an early 3-0 lead in the game. So he cleaned himself up significantly after the first few innings, and I'm glad they were able to stretch him to 6 innings, but it didn't look like it was going to be a good situation for the Red Sox at first. But their offense woke up for sure. Abreu with 2 hits, Refsnyder with 2 hits, Cedar Rafaela with a hit, and Jarren Duran and Connor Wong and Dom Smith all each with a hit as well. So Wilyer Abreu crushed a home run, and he was super excited about it, and rightfully so. I'm really happy for him. He went into this season with a lot to prove, and fans wondering where he was actually at in terms of his ability level and how he could contribute to this Red Sox team. And he's done nothing but surprise in the best way possible for this Boston Red Sox team. He's up to a .275 batting average with a .357 on base percentage and .486 slugging. So he just continues to hit and create opportunities for the Boston Red Sox when they need somebody to be clutch. Another player who's continuing to perform in clutch situations is Connor Wong. He did get a hit on Wednesday night against the Rays that drove in 2 runs. He went 2 for 5 in the game, and in a big situation with traffic on the bases, he was able to drive in a couple. So that was huge. Connor Wong's still hitting very well. .344 average, .374 on base percentage, and .508 slugging, which is very good, especially for the fact that he's a catcher and nobody would have expected him to hit as well as he's been hitting. And make sure you tune in on Monday, because I'm going to be doing a deep dive into some players that are very hot at the plate right now for the Red Sox and whether we should buy into them or not for the rest of the season. And Connor Wong is one of those players that I dive into on that episode. So you definitely won't want to miss that. But he's been very good at the plate. He's actually been one of the most consistent hitters on this team with runners on base, and with 2 outs. He's also been very good with driving runs in. So that was huge for the Red Sox, and the momentum just kept going. And the Red Sox were able to get 8 runs across. And it was a beautiful thing, because this team really needed to get back on track, because they were sitting with an under 500 record prior to the start of this win streak. They were sitting at 2 games under 500, and now that they've rattled off 4 straight, they're now at a record of 26-24. And MLB actually released their latest power rankings yesterday, and the Red Sox moved up from 13th place to 11th place because of the fact that MLB is impressed that they've been able to stay afloat and hang in there and linger around 500 even despite all the injuries, which is something that I've talked about for a while extensively on this show. When the Red Sox first started having all these injuries occur, a lot of people thought they would just fall back and start losing a ton of games. And yes, there's been frustrating losses in there, especially due to defensive incompetencies and the offense not always hitting like we want them to hit. But overall, this Red Sox team has been able to get past those hurdles, and they've been able to continue to perform even though the odds are stacked against them right now because of the injuries. So that's impressive, and it honestly makes me very excited for the rest of the season when they do get their players back and they are healthy. They won't be fully healthy at all for the rest of this season because, unfortunately, with Trevor Story not being able to come back, who knows when Masataka Yoshida is coming back, about a month or so left for Tristan Casas. So we still have a bit of time before the Red Sox really feel like they're healthier. But overall, they needed this momentum heading off of this road trip, and they can hopefully come back home and have a good competitive series against a Brewers team that has started off very well this season. So I'm interested in seeing how the Red Sox stack up with them, because a winning streak is great, but it can only take you so far in the grand scheme of things. You need to continue to be able to play good baseball. So that's what I'm looking at for the Red Sox for this upcoming weekend series. Coming up, the Red Sox starting pitching rotation has been very good this season. So I'm going to be ranking the starting pitchers in terms of their number 1 starter all the way to their number 5 right now. Spring has sprung, and that means spring cleaning. Whether that means stocking up on cleaning supplies or swapping out your winter clothes for new spring clothes, make sure you're using Ibotta and get real cash back with every purchase. Ibotta is a free app that gives you the most cash back every time you shop on hundreds of items from groceries to beauty supplies to toys, so you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying it by using the code LOCKEDONMLB when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back and use code LOCKEDONMLB. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store and use code LOCKEDONMLB. It certainly is not here to disappoint, so you should absolutely take advantage and check it out. Get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades, supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free TradeMaster program. Every TradeMaster gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at supplyhouse.com/T-M and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at supplyhouse.com. Lots of things that certainly won't disappoint, and neither will Locked On Sports Today. Just be sure to subscribe to that on YouTube or on Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV Channels app. And we as a network will keep you updated on all things going on in sports, so you don't have to worry about scrolling through Twitter or finding out other ways. Locked On is your hub for all things sports. Locked On Sports Today is a 24/7 stream that will keep you caught up, so make sure that you check that out today as well. The Boston Red Sox in their season so far have had a lot of surprises that have occurred, but the biggest one and the biggest storyline right now is how good the Red Sox starting rotation has been. Statistically, they have a top 5 starting rotation in baseball, and they have a lot of guys who seem to be developing under Andrew Bailey in a way that is working for them. And that's a great problem to have, because I originally thought that the starting rotation was going to be one of the more things to be concerned about with this Red Sox team, and rightfully so, because we've seen this rotation be an absolute mess the last couple seasons. So I was really intrigued to see how they were going to come out as a staff, and so far overall they have not disappointed, and it's going to make the Red Sox decision very difficult when Garrett Whitlock comes back in terms of where they should put him. Are they going to put him in the rotation and send Cooper Criswell back down to AAA? Are they going to start Garrett Whitlock in the pen? Lots of questions surrounding what the Red Sox are going to do when it comes to the reappearance of Garrett Whitlock when he comes back from his injury, but who knows when that will be now, unfortunately, because he was shut down, so he might end up being there for longer, in which case Cooper Criswell will be around here for longer. But he's been very impressive, and all of the starting pitchers as a whole have been generally reliable. They've been eating innings, which is something that I marked as could be a potential concern for them, and they're able to get the job done. Now, right now, to me, the ace of the pitching staff is Tanner Houck. He has a 1.94 ERA currently. He's averaging about 6 innings a start. He did have that one start that he pitched a complete game, 9-inning shutout against the Guardians, and that was very fun to watch. And the biggest thing with Tanner that I've noticed is generally just an increase in his pitch arsenal. He has a few more pitches that he's pulled, that he's utilizing this season, that has helped him to be able to succeed a lot more, because he had two very solid pitches in the past that he could use as shutdown pitches, and those worked well for him. But because those were his only two super competitive pitches, it was hard for him to consistently pitch well once he's pitching deeper into games and opposing hitters are more familiar with him. The more pitches you have, the harder it is for opposing hitters to figure you out and be able to hit off of you, because you don't really know what they're going to throw when. So Tanner Houck, to me, has found a way to be super reliable this year in terms of throwing more pitches in there and staying confident with himself. And I really like that about him. He's been so consistent in terms of his dominance and his ability generally to provide a good start. And I am hard pressed to feel like he's going to regress at all. I feel like he's having a very good season and he's bringing all-star caliber stuff on the mound. And he's somebody that if the Red Sox make the postseason, I would not want to be facing if I'm an opposing hitter, because he's really stepped up this year in terms of his ability to stay consistent. He hasn't given up the long ball really ever. He's only given up one home run so far this season. So he's not the type of pitcher who's generating a lot of hard contact, which is fantastic. He already has 62 strikeouts on the season compared to only 12 walks. So his strikeout to walk ratio is very good. So there are a lot of things about Tanner Houck that I like, but to me, he's been the best starter in this rotation to date. So I'm putting him at number 1. Number 2 for me right now is a guy who has definitely been a pleasant surprise that I wasn't sure what we were going to get from him this year, because last year he definitely showed glimpses of what he could do, but this year he's really expanded and capitalized on his strengths, and that is Kutter Crawford. Currently sitting at a 2.17 ERA. He's averaging about 5+ innings a start right now. He's recorded 57 strikeouts compared to 18 walks. So he, again, has a really good strikeout to walk ratio. He has given up 3 home runs. So not many, but still a couple more than Tanner Houck has. And he has had outings where he has been a little more inconsistent. He gave up 3 earned runs against the Cubs on April 26th and 4 earned runs against the Rays on May 13th. So he's had a couple starts in there that haven't really gone his way, but other than those 2 starts, he's been very solid. And if you put him next to Tanner Houck, it is very close, but I'm still giving Houck the edge because of the fact that he's been slightly more inconsistent so far here in these first couple months of the season. But I really like Kutter Crawford. I think he brings a lot to the table, and he provides some really good value in terms of his ability to get guys out and get out of base traffic easier. So Houck's been very good. He's developed a sweeper over the last year or so that has helped him to be a lot more competitive this year. So he's my number 2 starter in the Red Sox rotation right now. Number 3 is a guy who I talked about earlier who kind of came out of nowhere this year, and I certainly did not expect him to pitch as well as he has been, and that is Criswell. Before the season started, the Red Sox were saying there was a chance he might earn a starting spot in the rotation, but then he ended up going to AAA, and then the Red Sox called him up when Garrett Whitlock got injured, and he has been absolutely phenomenal out of the starting rotation. Currently sitting at a 2.86 ERA. In terms of innings that he's averaging per start, it's a little bit less than the others. It's sitting at right about 5, sometimes a little bit less than that. So I definitely would like to see him stretch out a little bit more, as my biggest thing with Criswell is try to start getting him through a full 6 innings and hopefully be able to continue to rest the bullpen more so that they're not as fatigued. His strikeout to walk ratio right now is 34-8. So if you notice, the Red Sox as a starting rotation collectively have a very good strikeout to walk ratio. They're not giving a lot of free passes generally, which that alone is a huge difference from last season, because last year they were using a lot of different strategies in terms of their starting pitching, and they were walking a lot of guys, and the aftermath of that was not great because opposing hitters would end up scoring. So way less of that this year generally, and Criswell has been good in terms of his ability to judge pitches and what he should be throwing when. He has given up 5 home runs, so that's something that has hurt him a little bit, is he is more giving up the long ball, but I'm putting him as the number 3 starter because he's not fantastic. He's not the best starter in the rotation, but generally when it's all said and done, he's been putting up very solid performances on the mound this season, including his most recent start against Tampa Bay. So I like Criswell. He's number 3 for me in the Red Sox rotation right now. Number 4 is a guy who spent some time on the injured list and recently came back in Nick Pivetta. He's been played around with in terms of pitching out of the bullpen or pitching out of the rotation. And last year he was very good once they moved him to the pen. Nick Pivetta, bullpen Nicky P was just unstoppable. And it was a whole different pitcher. And I was like, what's going on here? Does he just like pitching out of the bullpen better? Because he looked significantly more confident and he was cutting down significantly on things he was struggling with prior. So he came into this season as a starter and overall he looks good. 3.04 ERA, 30 strikeouts compared to just 2 walks. But again, he's only made 5 starts on the season because he had been hurt. So not a huge sample size yet for him. He has given up 7 home runs and 9 earned runs among those 5 starts. He did give up 5 earned runs in his start against the Braves on May 8th. That was his first start back from the injured list though. So definitely giving him a little bit of a grace period on that. And then gave up 2 earned runs versus the Rays on May 14th. But overall, he has been solid, but I can't really put him better than where he's at now in the rotation because he hasn't had as many starts as some of the other pitchers to be able for me to feel confident to put him there. Once he continues to pitch, if he's still pitching well, then I can maybe move him up. But for right now, I have to keep him at number 4 because of the small sample size, and he hasn't been more impressive than the pitchers who have been above him. And surprisingly, Brayan Bello has to be number 5 right now. He's at a 4.04 ERA. His last start was the other night at the Rays. We talked about how he gave up 3 earned runs over 6 innings. He has not been fantastic. Strikeout to walk ratio is 37-13. The walks have been a challenge for him. He gave up 4 walks in his start against the Rays the other night and has given up at least 1 walk in most of his starts this year. He also spent a little bit of time on the IL as well, so I'm hoping he can get his numbers back down again and that his injury was a factor in that. But Brayan Bello overall has had his struggles this year, and he has been generally fine and generally has been getting the job done, but not to the same point as the other starters. So he's number 5 right now for me, and there you have it. That's the Red Sox rotation right now, and lots of guys that are pitching really well, and hopefully they can continue to do that because this team definitely will have a chance if these guys are doing their job in pitching. Coming up, speaking of pitching, I'm going to be giving an update on another pitcher who could be returning from the injured list soon and making the Red Sox decision-making tough when it comes to the fate of some of these pitchers. If you're looking for a great way to get involved with sports betting, or if you're already involved and you just want to capitalize on your money, FanDuel is the place for you. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel is so much fun and gives you lots of opportunities to win money if you're looking for somebody to share firsthand experience. My fiance definitely can for you because he's won a lot of money on it. So check out FanDuel today. Also, this is your reminder to check out Locked On Sports today, as available on YouTube and Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV channels app. And we will keep you up to date in all things going on in sports with a 24/7 stream. So make sure you check that out as well. Isaiah Campbell, a name who I'm sure you might have forgotten about by now because the Red Sox pitching staff has been performing the way that they have. But Isaiah Campbell has been injured. He's been on the IL for over a month due to a right shoulder impingement. And he is scheduled to begin a rehab assignment with the Worcester Red Sox. And it's very exciting for him. He has a lot he has to work out. In 7 appearances this season, he did post a 12.79 ERA, which is a pretty horrendous number. But he only really struggled in his last 2 outings because he gave up 8 of his 9 earned runs in 2 innings against the Orioles. So if you take out the last couple outings, he really hasn't been bad. He's somebody who we definitely need to see more of because at the beginning of the season, Red Sox fans were kind of over the Isaiah Campbell experiment, even though he had just gotten here. And I think the injury played a big part in that. So it's interesting to see the way he's going to handle coming back and if he's going to be able to navigate being back in this pitching staff and perform effectively because people have a sour taste in their mouths about him. And when people hear the name, it's probably not the best name people want to hear right now. So when he does come back, the question becomes, do the Red Sox want to give him a chance because of the fact that he was injured? And do they want to take that into account and give him another shot to be able to succeed at the major league level? Or do they want to just have him stay in AAA for a while and kind of get his numbers back up to where they want them to be before he comes back up to the majors? Or do they want to just say, okay, we have people in this pitching staff right now that we don't really need and we don't feel play a big role here? That's where the question becomes difficult, is who's going to get the boot if he comes back? Is it going to be somebody who hasn't been super consistent out of the pen, or is it going to be somebody who they feel like might just not be worth utilizing anymore? So for example, I don't see this happening, but what if they said, okay, well, Chris Martin has reached his best days already as a Red Sox reliever, so we don't need him anymore, so why don't we just replace him with Campbell? Or do they go to somebody like Cam Boozer, who hasn't been overly impressive out of the pen, and say, okay, why don't we just give Campbell a chance instead of him because he hasn't been performing as well as some of the other guys in this bullpen? So those are decisions they need to make. Or do they just say, okay, Campbell needs more time and more reps down in the minors? Either way, Isaiah Campbell's decision will be looming, much to fans' potential dismay, because people I know weren't super happy about the fact that he was even here in the first place. And like I said, people were ready to pull the plug on him to begin with. So that's something to examine moving forward, is how is he going to look in his rehab assignments? For one, that's something to take into account, is what's he going to look like and what form is he going to be in when he's pitching in Worcester? Because if he goes back to Worcester and he isn't performing well, then I think the decision becomes clearer that he just might not be ready to return to the Red Sox bullpen at the major league level, and he needs more time down in AAA. So I'm interested in seeing how that situation goes. If he dominates down in Worcester and his rehab starts, they likely would want to bring him back and activate him onto the major league roster. So in that case, then they'd have to find a solution of who they want to potentially flip or just DFA or send down to AAA. So lots of decisions looming for the Red Sox here over the next few months, because people are going to be returning from their injuries, like I talked about earlier, and roster spots are going to have to be made for those players. And when you take somebody like Tristan Casas, for example, when he comes back, likely David Hamilton is somebody who I could see getting sent down to AAA when he comes back. Or maybe they see something in him because of his speed and they want to keep him up, so they send somebody else down to AAA. Lots of things that they have to think about over these next couple months as guys are starting to get healthy. Again, it's a good problem to have because obviously you want to have your best guys out there performing for your team, and those best guys are for sure the guys like Triston Casas and sort of Masataka Yoshida, depending on what you want to think of it as just a DH maybe, and the fact that he was getting hot at the plate before he got injured. And you want your top guys out there to put you in the best position to contend. And nobody can argue that Triston Casas is not in that category. So him coming back will be good news for the Red Sox. Isaiah Campbell coming back is obviously good news for him, but maybe not good news for the fans. I'm not writing him off yet. Still a small sample size. I think he deserves a fair shot and deserves to have more of an opportunity to be able to showcase what he can really do. Because obviously there was something the Red Sox saw in him, and they obviously feel like he has the potential to be able to succeed in this Red Sox system. So I think we should give it some time and give him some time to be able to get himself reacclimated and recover from his injury, because that could have been a factor in why he wasn't pitching well early on. So we'll see what happens with him, but I'm hoping for a big series over the weekend against Milwaukee. It would be a great way to continue the hot streak that the Red Sox are on now that they are back to being a couple games over 500. Maybe they can try to gain some ground in the division in the meantime and in that wild card race. So as always, keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I will catch you on the flip side.